NASCAR's big debate. Does a YouTube star belong on the track? There's a real buzz of tension hanging over the NASCAR world right now, and not the good kind. You know that feeling when something drops in the sport that just slices the whole garage clean in two? Fans, insiders, drivers, everyone picking a side. Well, buckle up, because that's exactly the kind of week NASCAR is dealing with. Something has unfolded that's got seasoned veterans speaking their minds, insiders stepping out of the shadows, and fans going at it, hammer and tongs across every corner of the internet. And here's the wild part. It all circles back to a single opportunity. One that half the NASCAR world thinks is a breath of fresh air, while the other half thinks it's a genuine blunder. We've also got two pretty meaty storylines tangled up in this whole mess, both of them packed with some seriously strong words from big names in the sport. And trust me, a few of the things said this week are the type of quotes that don't just make waves, they make tsunamis. Kyle Busch doesn't bite his tongue. What a surprise. So here's where the whole thing kicked off. News surfaced earlier this week that Garrett Mitchell, better known to most of the internet as Cleetus McFarland, is set to race for Richard Childress Racing in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for 3 races this season. The moment that announcement hit the airwaves, the reactions came flooding in like a busted dam. Some folks see it as a golden chance to reel in a fresh crowd of fans who've never set foot in a grandstand. Others, though, are seriously scratching their heads over whether this makes any sense from a pure racing perspective. And honestly, it's hard to ignore the elephant in the room. Cleetus McFarland's racing resume is, to put it gently, pretty thin. We're talking 5 starts in the ARCA Menard Series and a single outing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. That's the whole list. And that's precisely where Kyle Busch decided to weigh in. When reporters caught up with Busch at Phoenix and lobbed the question his way, he didn't exactly sugarcoat his feelings. He admitted he wasn't even sure how many races Cleetus had actually run, then took it straight to a comparison, pointing to Denny Hamlin, who he reckoned ran somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 races before sniffing the big stage. Then came the line that absolutely detonated on NASCAR social media. "My son's probably run more races than he has, and he's 10 years old." Yeah, that one landed hard. Busch made his stance crystal clear. Experience still counts in this sport, and waltzing into a major developmental series without a serious racing background doesn't sit right with him. He also made a point of noting he's far from alone in feeling that way around the garage. Which, when you think about it, probably isn't too surprising. Freddie Kraft fires off a sarcastic tweet and makes a real point Busch wasn't the only one letting it rip. Freddie Kraft, well known as the spotter for Bubba Wallace in the Cup Series, jumped straight onto social media the moment the news broke. His tweet was soaked in sarcasm. "Crash at the Rockingham truck test. Crash lap 5 of your only truck start. Good enough for me, approved." But then he added something that a lot of people in the NASCAR paddock are quietly nodding along to. He made it clear he doesn't blame Cleetus one single bit. Honestly, if someone slid a competitive NASCAR ride across the table, most drivers in the world would grab it with both hands and not look back. Kraft's beef isn't with Mitchell, it's with the approval process itself. He also brought up Cleetus's Truck Series debut at Daytona, which by most accounts didn't go particularly smoothly. Early in the race, McFarland got into a spin that ended his day before it really began. Kraft pointed out that NASCAR was genuinely lucky the whole thing didn't spiral into something far uglier. When Cleetus spun, he went down the track rather than up, and given that he was running inside the top 10 at the time, a slightly different bounce could have wiped out half the field in one ugly swoop. Kraft didn't mince words, calling it flat-out dumb luck that things didn't get worse. His core concern, underneath all the sarcasm, is safety. He's actually been careful to say Cleetus seems like a solid guy with genuine car control. Anyone who's watched his YouTube videos can see that. But in Kraft's mind, online car control and NASCAR-level competition are two very different animals. Kyle Petty drops the most direct take of all. If you thought Busch's comments were blunt, Kyle Petty took things to a whole new level, and then some. Petty, who has been embedded in the NASCAR world for literal decades, openly went after the decision to slot Cleetus McFarland into the O'Reilly program with Richard Childress Racing. and he didn't dance around it or wrap it in diplomatic cotton wool. His central concern is pretty straightforward. Mitchell's massive online following may have carried more weight in this decision than his actual racing experience. And that, for Petty, is where things start to go sideways. Because here's the thing, Cleetus McFarland has built a genuinely enormous presence online, especially on YouTube, where millions of people tune in to watch his content. From a marketing standpoint, that kind of reach is worth its weight in gold for NASCAR. But Petty is asking the uncomfortable question that a lot of people are tiptoeing around. Should internet fame be a fast pass into one of NASCAR's top developmental series? During a post-race discussion on YouTube, Petty delivered what might be the sharpest line of this whole debate. He said that these days it almost feels like racing experience is optional. The way he put it, all you really need is a video game as a kid, or 10 million YouTube subscribers. He basically summed it up as, drive something like a Crown Victoria, build a big audience, and suddenly doors start swinging open. Now, to his credit, Petty did acknowledge a bit of irony in his own position. He admitted that when he came up in NASCAR in the late 70s and early 80s, he wasn't exactly a seasoned pro either. He even called it out himself, the pot calling the kettle black. Fair enough. But his argument is that the sport looks completely different today. There are more racing series, more developmental ladders, more pathways for drivers to genuinely cut their teeth before arriving at NASCAR's door. Because of that, he believes celebrity status alone shouldn't be the key that unlocks these opportunities. His most direct shot. He said that if someone is purely an internet sensation, they probably don't belong racing at the Cup level, and maybe not even at the O'Reilly level just yet. But not everyone is lining up to criticize. Here's where it gets a little more nuanced, though, because not everybody is on the skeptic's side of this fence. Ty Dillon, RCR driver and grandson of team owner Richard Childress, has come out in support of bringing Cleetus into the fold. His take is that this is an opportunity to connect NASCAR with a completely different audience. People who've never really engaged with the sport before, but follow Cleetus religiously online. And honestly, when you look at it through that lens, it's not a crazy idea. Millions of potential new fans who might just need the right entry point. Cleetus himself has also been pretty measured and self-aware about all of this. He's not out here claiming he's the next Cup Series champion. In conversations with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mitchell has been upfront about wanting to keep building experience across different series, step by step, rather than skipping the queue. He's been clear that he wants to earn his place on track, not just coast in on subscriber counts. The race that could change everything. All roads now lead to Rockingham Speedway on April 4th, where Cleetus McFarland is set to make his O'Reilly Auto Parts Series debut. And this race carries a lot more weight than just one result. Depending on how he performs there, it could determine whether he gets the green light for his next planned start at Talladega Superspeedway. So this isn't just another Saturday afternoon race on the calendar. In a lot of ways, it's a referendum, not just on Cleetus McFarland, the driver, but on the whole idea of whether social media personalities have a legitimate place on NASCAR's competitive ladder. Every driver, every team, every analyst, every die-hard fan is going to be glued to that race. Because when the green flag waves, all the talking stops and the track does the talking instead. At the end of the day, this whole debate boils down to one question that racing has always wrestled with. Can someone prove they belong out there, even if they didn't take the traditional road to get there? We're just about to find out. Thank you guys, see you next video.